Ugh. Welcome to Help Stop the Genocide in American Ghettos podcast. I'm your host, Emmanuel Barbie. I am the founder, president, and CEO of GRCAM, the Grassroots Community Activist Movement. I created this platform to discuss cultural issues, political issues, and social issues using an Afrocentric perspective. I interview activists, authors, entrepreneurs, and musicians. I also created this platform in order to recruit brave and smart Black Americans beyond Chicago, as well as brave and smart African immigrants across the United States of America from 10 African nations. They are South Africa, Kenya, Ethiopia, Tanzania, Uganda, Angola, Liberia, Ivory Coast, Ghana, and Nigeria. I am unable to reach Black Americans due to this slave mentality within Black society. For 34 years, I have been reaching out to Black Americans, specifically Black Chicagoans, in real life as well as online. Majority of them tell me that they're not interested in my vision and plan to help improve our social conditions within the low income Black community. I encourage all of my listeners across the United States of America and around the globe to please help me get my ebook on that bestsellers list, quote, The Solution for Black America, Reclaiming, Rebuilding, and Restoring the Urban Ghettos in America, second edition. It's available on Amazon in two forms as an ebook for $9.99. And that's what I'm stressing people to get because you can download it to your smartphone and all that good stuff. Or you can get the softcover book for $15 plus shipping and handling. I provide my Amazon author page in the comment section below this audio podcast. This would help put me in a better position financially so that I can hire Black people, African people, and others. Also, if you live in North America and if you agree with my vision and plan to improve Black America, specifically Black Chicago, then you will automatically become a GRCAM member. I would encourage you to get behind our film project and help me raise the $250,000 using our crowdfunding sites. We use crowdfunding because we want everybody to know exactly where the money will be going. Our objective is to build the best Black Christian business within the United States of America, GRCI Chicago, which stands for the Grassroots Community Activist Institute of Chicago. If you're going to build, we're going to build it from the mud. In layman terms, we're going to build it from the ground up. If you are Black American and identify as DAS-FM, which stands for Descendants of American Slaves / Freedmen, then this business is for you and your immediate family members. Before I cut and run to Africa, I want to make sure that we get this business up and running in America first. That's for credibility. Some of my critics tell me that my introductions is too long, so I try to be mindful. If you have short attention span, then I recommend that you go to my Medium transcript, okay? And that's located in the comment section of this audio podcast. Click on the link, then scroll down to show and prove, and just watch all the videos. I'm just saying, you know. Also, I try to have balance for those of you that like to fact check, my sources because I come with receipts. When I get on here, I do my part. So You can fact check my information. So I provide articles under Show and Prove, that you can check out and read for yourself. And, like I say, just fact check because I don't try to mislead anybody. I promote or I preach the gospel of truth with facts. That's what I do over here. Um, if you are new to this podcast or if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel as of yet, please do so now. Be sure to tap the notification bell for alerts when we upload a new video. Please let us know in the comments section below this audio podcast where you're listening to us from. Also, let us know what's happening in your country, in your state, and or in your city so that you can make arrangements with me to come on this platform and discuss it with my audience in real time. We are a global community and we want to keep our listeners informed about what's going on with Black people and African people in the diaspora as well as on the African continent. I would like to I would like for us to grow this platform to 500,000 strong. As well as, again, I'm encouraging my listeners to, follow me again on my Medium page because that's where I post all my speeches, you know. And, I mean, all you have to do, you don't have to uh, listen to my long presentations, so to speak. Like I say, if you have a short attention span, then just scroll down to Show and Prove, and then watch the videos and all that good stuff. But I'm just saying, I'm trying to meet people where they're at. So, but again, I would like to encourage those of you that's listening, and for us to get this platform to grow to 500,000 strong, and also for us to get our film project fully funded and made so that way we can use the proceeds from the film to purchase property in Chicago, Illinois within the Black community and become an economic base within the Black community. Eventually, in God's timing, we will be hosting African tours, Caribbean tours, and South American tours so that we can move beyond cyberspace and make our presence known in cities and countries around the globe. On this on this platform, we share news and social commentary on a variety of topics ranging from politics to social justice. I provide thought provoking views and details. Again, I provide receipts that support my statements. I notice some of the biggest YouTubers use some of our talking points, but hey, it is what it is. I give authentic commentary that speaks to my passion for shining a light on truth and exposing lies and liars alike. I have a zero tolerance for foolishness and disrespect on this platform. We're about building and healing. That's what we're going to do in the real business once we get it up and running. And again, we ain't with all that drama. I'm going to run my business the way I run my home, drama free. That's how we're going to get down. On this platform, we are more than just talk. We will put boots on the ground and do what we can to help improve the social conditions of our people who want more out of life and want to become a GERCAM member. I'm not here for entertainment. When I get on this microphone, I'm here to recruit. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm about. Um, I'm giving notice to everyone on my Facebook page, on my Instagram page, my TikTok page, my LinkedIn page, and my X page. If you don't care about solving Black issues or solving African issues, then please delete me off your friends list and go about your business. That's real. Disclaimer: this content is for educational and informational purposes only. It is based on public available reports and verified media sources. We fully comply with YouTube's community guidelines. We do not promote violence, hate, or misinformation in any form. This platform is available in two forms: audio as well as a written text, in order for us to reach our audience. Help Stop the Genocide in American Ghettos podcast is our Black media component. I would like to encourage my listeners to subscribe again to my Medium page. There you can follow along with this presentation or any of the presentations that I do. I provide my Medium transcript in the comment section below this audio podcast. That's where you can find my Medium page. If you are a Black artist or African artist, such as an author, comedian, poet, musician, or entrepreneur, then make arrangements with me to come on this platform so that way you can promote your books, your business, your music, your jokes. And if you have a small ministry, then you are more than welcome to share a 30-minute sermon with my listeners from the global community. After the show, I offer incentives to my guest speakers by teaching them how to create their own podcast, YouTube channel, and get it monetized, as well as assist them with creating a free Wix website. I am available, um, I would say Thursday, July 16th through Sunday, July 19th. Um, then Monday, July 20th through Friday, July 24th. July 25th, that's where we are hosting our virtual interactive conference. So I will be occupied that day. Also available Sunday, July 26th through Thursday, July 30th. All between 2 p.m. to 9 p.m. American Central Time. So, for example, I'm still looking for people to be on my panel, at least 5 people. So I'm encouraging you all to come forth. And then, I will send you the information about, the protocol about being on the panel and all that good stuff. So if you're interested, you would have to, for example, those of you that's on Facebook, just send me a message to my inbox. Same thing with all the other social media sites I'm on. Send me your email address, and we'll take it from there. I'll talk with you through email. We'll try to network and all that stuff. But definitely, if you're serious about coming on the panel, that would be very much appreciative. We will appreciate that big time. Um, Again, I can't do all this stuff myself again. And that's why I want us to interact with each other. And like I say, hey, once I'm start making money and all that stuff, I'm willing to hire those of you to help me build this business, help me run this business. And so I can turn the business over to you and for you to be able to manage it. And I want to be able to bring the business over to the African continent. I do not want to come to Africa empty-handed. I want to bring, I would say, economic tangibles in the form of job creation for GRCAM members. I'm going to look out for GRCAM members first and foremost, because after all, this business is for them. That's why it's membership based, because I'm tired of reaching out to trying to help, quote unquote, my Black people. And if Black people, or let's say Black Americans, can't reach them all, a lot of them just Americanized, bottom line. They have developed a narcissist attitude and also have taken on the colonizers' ways. So it is what it is. But again, this is my calling. I didn't know it was going to take 34 years. I've been doing my best. I have my revised book out there. I don't sell dope, I sell knowledge. I'm a law abiding citizen, but I don't take BS from anybody. You ain't gonna sit up here and run game with me and all that kind of stuff. Want to come around me once I start making money and the business blow up. I'm gonna treat you the same way you treated me. We're gonna remain strangers. That's all. So those of you that's especially that's in my social groups, your time is limited with me. Once this business is up and running and stuff like that, I'm not going to be online like I am. I'm going to actually be in the business and actually out in the field. Definitely want to bring this business over to the African continent, work with African families that want more out of life. And you're all going to see how all of this stuff that I'm talking about is going to tie in with my vision for Africa. It's very important. Those of you that's listening to me right now, I mean, work with me. Work with me while I'm alive. Don't wait until I'm dead. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be doing this another 34 years. I ain't on here playing games. Not at all. So I want my advisory board or a resource team to have an associate's degree or above. I want Black attorneys, African attorneys, investors, financial planners, marketers, Black entrepreneurs, African entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs, and philanthropists. It doesn't matter how bad I would like to get this Christian business up and running. Without financial support from the Black grassroots and the global African family, then I am unable to do my God given assignment. Yeah, that's just what it is. But at least, hey, God is my witness. At least I'm trying. You know what I'm saying? It's all documented. That's how come I do this platform. I'm documenting what I'm trying to do, trying to move the ball, to get the ball rolling. This is where a lot of people are at online, trying to make my presence known here, trying to connect with like-minded people. Those that ain't about Jack, I ain't gonna fool with you. Is what it is. I encourage Black content creators and African content creators who have a large following. Please allow me to come on your platform so that way I can speak with your audience about my revised book and my film project. After all, my Christian business is for Black millennials and Generation Z. Those of you between 18 to, I would say, 36 years old, this business is for you. But I need you to help me build the thing. I got the idea. I wrote the vision and made it plain. And I run across so many of I would say Black Americans that's so paranoid. I mean, yes, there's a lot of scammers out here, but everybody's not a scammer. All I'm selling is a doggone book. My God. So, yeah. So I have the book and I have my virtual store. I did that in order to generate capital so we can move this thing to the next level together. And I want to encourage people to become GERCAM members because this business is for them. It's for you and your, I would say your children. I don't have kids because this world don't deserve my seed. But that's another story. I'm not going to go into all of that. I'm trying to stay focused. I don't want the brand and vision to die in America. I want to push this vision to the Black world. This is my contribution to Africa's rising. And that's all I'm trying to do. This year, we are determined to get this film project fully funded and made so that way we can get our story on the big screen in order to reach the Black world and let them know who we are and what we're trying to do for Black Americans who identify as DAS-FM, descendants of American slaves slash freedmen, who are trapped in American ghettos, starting here in the city of Chicago. But hey, I'm only doing it in Chicago only. No other city because doggone it, I don't want to waste any more time. Once we get it up and running here, I'm turning the business over and I'm bringing the business over, expanding it to the African continent, calling on my brothers and sisters in Kenya because I'm feeling, I wanted to go to South Africa, but they're going through the most right now and or acting the most, and it's just horrible. Uh, so I say, all right, no problem. But still, I got to get it popping here in Chicago first before I even come to Africa. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm reaching out to the African immigrants from 10 African nations. I'm also reaching out to the global African family. Help get my revised book on that. Help get my ebook on that bestsellers list. Again, that's going to help speed up the process. So that way I can hire people, Black people, African people, and others. Upcoming events. Please mark your calendar for Saturday, July 25th, 2026. We're hosting our monthly virtual interactive conference. I encourage 5 people from my Facebook page or Instagram page, LinkedIn page, TikTok page, or from my X page to come forth and be on my panel so that way we can discuss our monthly theme. It will be Africa and Caribbean nations created a 19-point framework for reparations, where YouTube Live, when Saturday, July 25th, 2026, time 2 p.m. American Central Time, 3 p.m. Canadian Time, 8 p.m. West African Time, 9 p.m. South African Time, 10 p.m. East African Time, and 8 p.m. UK Time. Again, if interested, then please send me a message to my Facebook inbox along with your email address so that way I can email you specific instructions about being on the panel. Now, if you are unable to participate on our monthly virtual interactive conference, no problem. Then please listen to the replay. Leave a public comment about the topic in the comment section. And most of all, please share my I would say my YouTube link with your friends on all social media sites that you are on. This will help get the ball rolling. And again, if you don't know how to use StreamYard, then like I say, make arrangements with me. I already went over when I'm available. So, pick out a good time for you. And let's make that happen. Title of this presentation: White Nationalists Sending a Message on the 4th of July. Second topic: UK PM wants reparations from former colonies. Third topic: Asian businesses are closing. The wealth transfer has begun. Our first topic: White nationalists sending a message on the 4th of July. Today, we're talking about what happened in Washington, D.C. on July 4th and why it matters to the global African family. Black people in America and African people living in Europe and those living on the continent need to pay close attention because the Patriot Front didn't just crash America's birthday party. They are sending a strong message to their allies around the globe. As I mentioned many times before, Black America has only two choices: either embrace annihilation or embrace my vision and plan and become a Gurkhan member if you want to survive in America. This moment is not just limited to America's future, but also about the future of Western nations. I want to talk about this topic on the 4th of July, but I felt that the Walmart parking lot shooting and what happened to Nolan Wells was more of a priority. During the 4th of July weekend, as Americans celebrated 250 years of independence, hundreds of members of a white nationalist hate group called Patriot Front marched through the streets of Washington, D.C., just blocks from the U.S. Capitol, carrying Confederate flags, American flags, and wearing neo Nazi symbols in broad daylight. They wanted to send a message across television screens, social media, and around the world. On the day that America was supposed to be celebrating 250 years of freedom, it wasn't the parades or celebration. It was those white nationalists, 400,000 members of this white supremacist group marched through um, Washington, D.C. neighborhoods wearing face masks, navy blue shirts, and carrying American and Confederate flags. As you will see in the video clips, they moved in tight formation wearing matching navy shirts and pants, with their face covered, carrying flags and shields. Um, Washington, D.C. canceled its 4th of July parade this year due to extreme heat. The city was supposed to showcase its own version of patriotism. The stage sat empty, so the hate group Patriot Front decided to fill the stage instead. Notice they did not need a permit or a city budget. I found a video from NBC entitled, quote, Examining Extremists in the United States, unquote. To watch the full video, just go to my Medium transcript located in the comments section below this audio podcast. Click on the link, then scroll down to show and prove. I found another video from MS Now entitled, quote, America's celebrates 4th of July across the country, unquote. To watch the full video, just go to my Medium transcript located in the comment section below this audio podcast. Click on the link, then scroll down to show and prove. What I understand from these videos. Now, I am going to play these videos once I finish with my, I would say, presentation, the speech that I've written out. Once I'm done with that, then we're going to look at the videos and all that good stuff. Right now, I'm just giving you the meat about what's going on. So, what I understand from these videos and from government officials, this group have a legal right to assemble. That's not the failure. That's not the failure here. The failure is bigger than any one police report. Patriot Front didn't need a fight for the spotlight on Saturday because nobody else showed up to compete for it. Patriot Front is a white nationalist hate group that's been around for a decade. They came to power after a splinter group called Vanguard America, who were present at the 2017 Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville, Virginia. This is where a neo Nazi drove his car into a crowd of counter protesters. One woman was unalive and 35 people were injured. Since then, they've grown significantly in popularity and in size. Their message to other Americans is that this country belongs to white America. The Southern Poverty Law Center, the Anti Defamation League, and George Washington University's program on extremists all classify Patriot Front as a white nationalist, white supremacist hate group. These groups has become known for highly coordinated propaganda campaigns and carefully staged marches designed to generate maximum public attention and media coverage. The question is, why did they choose to march on Independence Day? The 4th of July is an annual celebration of America's founding ideas: freedom, liberty, democracy, and the promise that anyone, regardless of where they come from, can become an American citizen. Every nation has symbols, flags, national holidays, monuments, founding stories, because symbols shape identity. If you can influence what those symbols represent, you can influence how people think about their nation itself. That's why, through our history, political movements of every kind have fought over national symbols. If you can define patriotism, you can define you can begin to define who belongs. I believe that their message to other American was the United States of America was founded as a white only nation. But the browning of America has begun, as well as in Europe. What does this incident means on Independence Day for Black Americans? In 1852, our great ancestor Frederick Douglass delivered what's now known um, as the most famous speech in American history. He asked a direct question: what is the 4th of July to a person still in bondage? His answer, in short: a celebration built for one group, mourned by another on the same calendar date. The liberty being celebrated nationally didn't apply to enslaved Black Americans. The Declaration promises were, in his words, an inheritance shared by someone, not by all. Patriot Front isn't asking for something new. Their own website says the goal is a hard reset, a return to the traditions of their forefathers. They're not describing a future America, they're describing a past one. So when this group marched under red, white, and blue, demanding a return to founding era traditions, this story isn't only about America. It's about a political shift that is happening across the globe. Global white supremacy is coming to an end, ladies and gentlemen. Over the past decade, questions of national identity have moved from the po- political fringes to the center of public debate. These conversations are shaping elections, driving policies, toppling governments, and fueling the rise of national nationalist movements across Europe, North America, and even in South Africa. Who belongs and who gets to define a nation? America has been one of the most influential political, economic, and cultural forces in the lives of Black people, African people, and others around the globe. For millions across Africa and the Caribbean, America has represented opportunity, a place to build businesses and to pursue careers. The victories of the civil rights movement inspired anti colonial movements across Africa and the Caribbean. America's political climate influenced immigration policies, student visas, business investments, foreign aid, and international trade. Many Africans and Afro Caribbeans have looked to America as the primary center for political and economic power. The African diaspora is becoming more globally connected than ever before, which means our future cannot depend on the politics of any one country. I would like to encourage CACAM members worldwide to work with me in building our own Black institutions, develop local, national, and international partnerships across the United States of America, Africa, the Caribbean, and South America, so that our collective future is never determined by political shifts in just one nation. When the global African family is connected, it becomes far more resistant than when it is divided by region. Descendants of American slaves slash freedmen has confronted moments of deep division in this country for centuries. For example, from slavery, Jim Crow segregation, convict leasing, redlining, perhaps the worst plan that the white supremacist financial elite has done to destroy the black family was the crack epidemic. The crack epidemic was a major crisis in the 1980s. My family was affected, even myself, by this evil plan to target low income Black Americans through ethnic cleansing of urban areas. Ethnic cleansing is the systematic force removal of an ethnic, racial, or religious group from a specific area to create an upscale neighborhood. It's also known as urban gentrification. Um, Perpetrators use violence, intimidations, and legal means to force displacement along with the destruction of homes, places of worship in order to erase the target group's physical presence. After the gains of the civil rights era, the white supremacist financial elites decided to divide Black Americans based upon social class. They allowed our Black upper class and Black middle class to integrate into the white suburbs. As I mentioned in my revised book, this made our inner cities vulnerable. Then they flooded our inner cities across the United States of America with drugs, guns, and liquor stores, which I call the perfect genocide, physical genocide and political genocide. Black people uh, that used crack, um, which is a cheap form of cocaine, it caused quick, intense highs and severe addiction. The crisis hit poor inner city black neighborhoods the hardest. It led to more crime and violence. The government answered with strict drug laws and harsh prison sentence, which created mass incarceration. America is going through profound demographics, economic, and cultural change. Globalization connect the world in ways that previous generation never imagined. Economic inequalities left millions feeling left behind. Technology helped accelerated cultural change faster than institution could adopt. For many people, these changes have created new opportunities, but for others, they have created uncertainty. Back in the day, people argued about taxes, healthcare, and foreign policy. We have to look beyond the march itself and examine the conditions that make those ideas resonate with some people. America wants to hold onto her superpower status, but China is becoming the world's new superpower. For example, since the rise of Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger alliance and the removal of France from their former colonies, the French economy is collapsing. Now the French people are focusing around immigration, national identity, and foreign and French sovereignty. Look at Germany, where alternative for Germany has surged in national and regional election by arguing that Germany must reclaim control of its borders and redefine what it means to be German. Look at Italy. Georgia Meloni came to power, promising tougher immigration policies and a renewed emphasis on national identity. In Northern Ireland, they are pushing anti immigration protests, harming and unaliving Black Africans and Muslims. These same Europeans are the ones who colonize and destabilize these people's homelands and their economy. So, I mean, that's what happens when you become a colonizer. You know what I'm saying? These, and then got a nerve to be racist. That's the only thing I don't like about them racist people. Look at what's happening in South Africa. I encourage Black South Africans to elect Julius Malema for president because he was fighting for land redistribution without compensation. The white supremacist financial elites occupy 80% of the land. They are the ones who control the economic power. Black South Africans re-elected the ANC, who have been in power for 30 years, and the former colonizers' political party, Democratic Alliance, came in second place. The EFF came in fourth place, and now South Africa is fighting against other African black black African migrants and demanding that they go back to their homeland, while claiming that the Boers and Afrikaners are part of them. And that's what makes us different from the Black South Africans. Black Americans don't view the white supremacist financial elites as part of, if they're part of us. We don't see that. Those are our historical enemies. You know, and they're the ones that cause all these doggone problems. And like I say, I just doing the best I can to get this business popping here in America so I can get the hell away from them. I don't want to be around racist people that hate black people, but they behind is all over in Africa like they belong. But we have to reclaim our homeland. That's all I'm saying. But I'm just doing the best I can to get it popping here in America. I don't want to go to, like I say, I don't want to come to Africa empty handed. Just a bunch of talk because I'm not a politician. All right. So, this is why South Africa is losing support from the rest of the continent. The only reason Africa is poor is because Africa is allowing these Europeans to continue taking your resources. You already have an example from Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger about how to take back your land and resources from these former colonizers. The European Union wants all of your minerals, diamonds, gold, oil, etc. Again, before I cut and run to Africa, I need African immigrants in America and the global African family to help me with two things. First, help me get my ebook on that bestsellers list so that will put me in a better position financially to hire black people and African people and others. You know, um, that's one thing. And then get behind this film project, you know. And if you stay here in America, North America, and like I say, if you agree with my vision and plan, and if you're able to travel to Chicago, like I say, let's make that happen. In my revised book, I have my business email in there so we could talk directly. Because again, I wrote that book to recruit people too. That's the whole purpose of me writing that book. I'm not talking in code, I'm speaking in plain English. This is everything that's written in that book. We're going to carry that out to the fullest. That's why I say if anybody disagree with my vision and plan, my advice to you is just to delete me off your friends list. Do not come to no events with my name on it, and do not change your mind because I ain't changing mine. And those that rejected my vision and plan for the past 34 years will not be part of my business. My business is membership based. And this is how I get down. I'll show you better than I can tell you. But I want to enjoy life and I want my members to enjoy life and I want to make sure that all of my members succeed in this business. But again, like, yeah, those that's, that want to stay in America, you want to stay in a burning house, that's on you. God give us free will. Like I say, the only reason it's taking so long is because, that slave mentality. That's why I'm reaching out to African immigrants and the global African family, trying to do something productive, build something positive that can be passed down to our next generation. Instead of sitting up here begging a white man for a job and all that garbage. My goodness, boy. It is what it is, but let me uh, focus on this presentation. Again, this is why I created this platform in order to recruit brave and smart, like minded Black Americans beyond Chicago, brave and smart, like minded African immigrants across the United States of America. I'm not ashamed to ask for help. I want help with those that's going to help me build this business and help me run this business. That's who I want help from. Pull our resources together. But you're going to have to pass, our criminal background check. You're going to have to attend our mandatory orientation. And I want everybody's thumbprint to be placed in our database. That way we can weed out those who would try to undermine us and send a message to these con artists that if I find out that we have a con artist, we're going to have protocol in place to expose them. Once we find out who they are, we're gonna place their name, photo ID, and address on our Judas list for everybody to see, and they will be barred for life. This is how I get down. And we may take legal action against such persons too if they try to steal. If I find out that they're stealing money from us, we'll take them to federal court. Um. Okay, so America has fumbled the bag, meaning fumbled the bag is a slang for messing up or missing out on a valuable opportunity involving money. America has a $39 trillion debt and is about to collapse. America has plenty of chances to do right by Black Americans, but her racism would not allow her to do such. And so, hey, it is what it is. So, um, let's see. So yeah, my plan for my vision for Africa is that we want to replicate the once we get it popping here, we want to replicate the business. Like I say, the 10 African nations that I mentioned, we want to set up chapters there. I have to I talk it over with my advisory team. We're praying about it and all that good stuff. But I would prefer to be over on the African continent. And I talk it over with people that's on the continent and find out, are we going to use, are we still going to deal with South Africa or what? I mean, my goodness, man, they're looking at the former colonizers as part of them. They that doggone messed up. That's horrible, for real. My goodness. But just don't let that happen in any more African nations. That's all those people trying to do. Come there and take over. Shoot. Then they want to act like, they all better than us and all that garbage. And then got a nerve to be racist towards us. That's the part I don't understand. Who want to be around your funky ass? You know what I'm saying? It's just a straight up turn off. You hate my racial group, but then you're behind is all. It's not that they just want the resources; they want to be around us. Shoot, they have plenty of centuries, over there in South Africa. My goodness, man. All I'm saying is just we have to reclaim our continent. Don't let these Europeans get any more land or anything else. And if they're not going to pay reparations, no problem. Just don't do business with them. That's it. Round up their people. Say, hey, look, go back to your homeland. If they don't want to go back, put they behind in jail. Because we didn't ask them to come to our continent. They imposed themselves. You have to keep that in mind. And acting all arrogant and stuff. Shoot. Ain't gonna act like that up in my business. I know that. But shit, I don't have much support from my own. 34 years been reaching out to black Chicagoans and they taking me for joke. But I'm just trying to be obedient. This is what my creator placed in my heart and mind, and he's the one that wanted me to do this. I mean, I'm like, all right, I'll do it, you know. I just wish speed up the process and make it happen. Doggone it. But let me go ahead. Bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. Uh Again, I'm only responsible for GRCAM members and their immediate family members. Those that's not a part of us, we'll pray for them, show them tough love, and keep it moving. And that's just how it's gonna be. Um um it will matter for the millions of people around the world who continue to look to the United States as a global leader, a partner, and a symbol of democratic possibilities. What was your reaction to the images that we saw coming out of Washington over the 4th of July weekend? What lessons should Africa and the global um, African family take from this moment? If you found today's episode valuable, then please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and also share it with your group chat. Please leave a public comment about the topic in the comment section below this audio podcast and share with your friends on all social media sites you are on. This will help get the ball rolling. Our second topic: UK MP wants reparations from former colonies. Okay. A British politician by the name of Sula Braverman has a message for descendants of enslaved colonies. They owe reparations to the UK government. She she argues that the British Empire helped improve the lives of enslaved people. They have no legal right to be asking for anything. See how arrogant these people is? And this woman, she's a minority herself. She's a from in they say she's from Kenya. Well, her parents is from Kenya and Mauritius. That's somewhere in Africa too. I think that's a little small country. But this is how they think. So she's one of those little sellouts. We ain't trying to hear that garbage. Um, but anyway, um, so she suggests that Britain's former colonies should be paying Britain back for its investment and contribution in building up their nations. This is a shift in the reparations debate, which is known as bait and switch. Bait and switch is a deceptive sale practice where a merchant advertise an appealing low price product or service to lure in customers. That's the bait. Once the customer arrives, the merchant claims the advertisement item is unavailable, def- deflective, defective, or inferior and pressure them to buy a more expensive or higher margin alternative instead. That's the switch. The term originated from retail marketers and is legally considered a form of consumer fraud and false advertising in many jurisdictions. For years, the counter argument was slavery was wrong, but it happened too long ago. But now it's becoming something entirely different. These white supremacist financial elites is saying Britain deserves gratitude, and that is a profound shift because the debate is no longer simply about whether Britain owes reparation. It's becoming a battle over the legacy of the British Empire. Was the empire fundamentally a system of oppression and extraction, or was it a force that ultimately left its colonies better off? How we answer that question will shape how future generations understand one of the most consequential chapters in modern history. In this episode, we're breaking down exactly what she said, why Barbados Prime Minister um, Mia Moley responded the way she did, and what I believe this entire exchange revealed about where the reparation movement goes from here. I believe that Britain may have just revealed its most important counter argument to the reparation conversation. If Africa and the Caribbean nations miss this shift, they'll be fighting year they'll be fighting yesterday's battle instead of preparing for tomorrow's future. On July 1st, I read an article on X from The Guardian entitled, quote, Jamaican delegation to travel to UK to lodge former slavery reparation petition with King Charles, unquote. The article, uh, to read the full article, just go to my Medium transcript located in the comment section below this audio podcast. Click on the link, then scroll down to show and prove. Okay. Um. So. Uh, so it is getting harder and harder for British institutions to maintain their favorite tactic of simply ignoring calls for repair. The article caught the attention of former British Homeland Security um, um, Sula Braverman. She said, quote, the British Empire did so much good for the world. Of course, slavery was a warrant, but to expect the British people of the 21st century to pay for action that took place in the 18th century has no basis in law, unquote. We heard that argument before. It's the familiar position that slavery was wrong, but today's generation shouldn't have to pay for it. Her statement that reparation has no basis in law, that's not a legal fact. It's a political opinion. And it's important that we call that out. She wrote, quote, if the government is seriously entertaining reparation, then former colonies should pay Britain back for the con- considerable investment and contribution that this country made, which led the foundation of many flourishing democracies today, unquote. That's not just a rejection of reparation, it's a complete reversal of the conversation. The argument is no longer simply, we don't owe you anything. The argument has become, perhaps you owe us. Slavery is described as Barant. But in the very next sentence, the empire that enabled that system is present as a civilizing force that deserves recognition for building roads, institutions, and democracies. There is no attempt to reconcile those two ideas. They simply exist side by side. There is no longer just an argument about whether reparations should be paid. It's becoming an argument about what the British Empire actually was. For descendants of American slaves slash freedmen, the British Empire was a system of exploitation. Who is Sula Braverman? Again, she was the prime minister in parliament since 2015. She served as an attorney general under Boris Johnson, then as home secretary under Liz Truss. Her time on the job was defined by the hardest UK immigration policy, the Rwanda deportation scheme, and remarks that got her fired in November 2023 for accusing police of biases at a pro Palestinian march. After 3 decades in the Conservative Party, she switched to Reform UK. She is an Indian heritage, so she is of Indian heritage. Her parents migrated from Kenya and um, Mauritius, both former British colonies. Prime Minister of Barbados, um, Mia Motley, um, was speaking at a closed press conference of the Caribbean Community Summit in St. Lucie. She was asked about Braverman's remarks, and her response was immediate. To watch the full video entitled Motley Rejects UK Compensation Claim, unquote, just go to my Medium transcript located in the comment section below this audio podcast. Click on the link, then scroll down to show and prove. There has been significant pushback from UK parliaments on the issue of reparation, with threats from parties to impose visa bans on certain countries asking for reparations. Well, hey, you guys owe it. You know, you're the one started all this stuff. We didn't come to you. Your behind came to us. And yes, you owe. We're going to keep throwing that up in your face. She said, quote, we should pay the United Kingdom for oppressing us, for enslaving us, and for treating us as cattle. Slavery existed before, but this was the first time that human beings were defined as cattle, unquote. Yeah, calling us human capital and all that mess. Just low down. Talking about we didn't have a soul and just trying to justify all that stuff. But and then brag about it in your history books, but don't want to pay. So I'm like, okay, no problem. Don't pay. We can't make them pay. That's true. But we don't have to do business with they behind neither. You know what I'm saying? Just saying. But those that's on the African continent, you all have more leverage than us over here in America, because, like I say, the European Union, all of those European nations, they want your minerals, they want your diamond, gold, or they want all of those things because they don't have it in their own country. And so if they don't want to play fair, then we just don't do business with them and tell them to get the hell off your continent. or put they behind in jail if they don't want to leave. Because we didn't ask they behind to come there. You just got to say it like that, and you have to mean it, and you can't be nice to those people. Because all they know is only thing they understand is fighting wars and stuff. Just horrible. And then got a nerve to be racist. My goodness. Then she brought up the 1661 slave codes of Barbados, which predates the code which the French have just repealed. Notice how all these European nations are distinguishing themselves in all of the slave laws that follow. The 1661 Slave Code of Barbados by the treatment of human beings as cattle. She said, quote, we are not asking for charity. We're asking to be able to ensure that justice can be done, unquote. In 1834, the British Parliament did not need to be persuaded of that fact with respect to the loss of property because we were cattle and the compensation of the slave owners were 20 million pounds. She said, I would like to advise those who have not understood the history to do so before making comments that rarely do reflect well on them, unquote. We have seen Pope Leo make comments about slavery this year. There are a few things about um, Mia Moley response that really stood out to me. The first is that she immediately rejected the premise of the question. She didn't spend time debating whether the Caribbean owed Britain anything. She called the idea asinine and moved on. In debate, the moment you begin arguing against the premises, you already given that premise legitimacy. Instead, she reframed the conversation around something much more fundamental. She said, quote, we should pay the United Kingdom for oppressing us, for enslaving us, and for treating us as cattle, unquote. Notice that last phrase, not simply enslaved, but treated as a cattle. Merely that point to the 1661 Barbados Slave Code, arguing that it illegally reduced African people to property or cattle, settling a precedent for later slave codes across the Americas. In other words, she wasn't making only a moral argument, she was making a historical claim. Her point was that this wasn't simply forced labor, it was the legal system itself that stripped millions of African people of their humanity. Yeah, breaking up our families, messing up what we had going on. And so what if on the African continent that they had other slaves, but I don't look at it as slaves. Those were like indentured servants because after 7 years they can get out of that. For the white man, shoot, they want you to be a slave for life. And so that's what I'm saying. It's just a turnoff. It really is, and I don't care how much they try to whitewash, this history. It's already out there. Everybody know what's going on, and it's passed down to our children too. So that's why they speak out against it. And people are just sick and tired of these white supremacists always bugging. They're the ones causing all these problems. I digress. This is an important distinction because it goes directly to the heart of the reparations movement. This isn't simply about acknowledging that slavery happened, it's about acknowledging the systems that were deliberately created to make slavery legal, profitable, and enduring. She said, quote, we are not asking for charity. We're asking to ensure that justice can be done. Critics often frame reparation as foreign aid or financial handout or perhaps an attempt to make today's taxpayers feel guilty for the actions of their ancestors. When Britain abolished slavery in 1834, it compensated the slave owners, not the enslaved people. The British government borrowed 20 million pounds to compensate plantation owners for the loss of what the law considered their property. The slave themselves received nothing. Same thing here in America, too. In many cases, were forced into a period of unpaid apprenticeship before gaining full freedom. Britain already accepted the principle of compensation. She reminded everyone that this is no longer just a Caribbean issue. She pointed to the reparations conference that just took place at the United Nations and that reparations are now part of a legitimate global conversation. In other words, this movement is growing. It is becoming more international. The question is no longer whether reparations should be discussed. The question now is whose version of history will shape that discussion. I believe that we're entering a new phase of the reparations debate. For years, the dominant response was relatively straightforward. Slavery was terrible. Colon, Colonialism was wrong, but it happened centuries ago, and today's generation cannot be held legally responsible. That was the argument. The argument was primarily about time. The message was too much time has passed. The argument is no longer just that reparations are impossible because history is too distant. The statute of limitation has elapsed. The argument is slowly becoming something much more ambitious is that the British Empire ultimately left its colonies better off than it found them. Terrible things happened, but Britain also built roads, railroads, it established courts, it created institutions that many former colonies still use today. The debate is quite shifting from whether Britain owes compensation to whether Britain deserves credit, which is bait and switch. And those are two complete different conversations because if you can convince enough people that the overall balance sheets of empire was positive, the balance sheets then the moral foundation for reparations becomes much weaker. And that's why I don't think that Braverman's comments should simply be dismissed as political provocation. Rather, intentional or not, they reflect a broader effort to redefine the legacy of empire. If the conversation becomes nothing more than roads versus slavery, railroads versus exploitations, institution versus human suffering, then we've already reduced one of its one of history's most consequential systems to an accounting exercise, which would be a big mistake. The British Empire built roads, but why were those roads built? They built railroads, but where did those railroads lead? They established courts, but whose interests were those courts originally designed to protect? Britain introduced systems of government, but whose were those systems initially created to govern and for whose benefit? These are the questions that often get left out of the conversation because colonial infrastructure didn't emerge in a vacuum. It was built specifically to support a colonial empire. Look at the map of rail, railways across colonial Africa. They didn't connect African communities to one another. They connected mines to ports. They connected plantation to shipping terminals. They connected areas of resource extraction to the coast where raw material could be loaded into ships and headed to Britain. The purpose wasn't to develop Africa's economy. The purpose was to integrate Africa's resources into Britain's economy. The infrastructure wasn't designed to develop Africa's economy. It was designed to facilitate the, the extraction of Africa's labor, Africa's land, and Africa's resource for the benefit of the British economy. We're watching the politics of reparation enter a completely new phase. Governments could simply ignore the conversation. There was no coordinated movement, no sustained diplomatic pressure, no international monument. The Caribbean has become more organized through the Caribbean Community, CARICOM. African countries are becoming more engaged. Last month, leaders from Africa and the Caribbean community had a major reparation conference where a new repar- reparations manifesto was launched. We are going to discuss that on Saturday, July 25th, during our monthly virtual interactive conference. The theme: Africa and Caribbean nations created a 19-point framework for reparations, coming from the global strategic framework for reparatory justice. Slavery has now been declared a crime, the gravest crime against humanity at the United Nations. Jamaica has now announced that its intent to formally petition King Charles for reparations later this year. In other words, this is no longer one country making one demand. This is becoming a coordinated diplomatic movement. And whatever a political movement gains momentum, the resistance to that movement usually evolves as well. As the movement for reparation becomes more organized, the arguments against reparation are becoming more organized as well. I believe there are three important lessons that Africa and the Caribbean should take away from this moment. First, don't expect the case for reparations to be won on historical and moral arguments alone. For decades, many people believed that if enough historical evidence was uncovered, if the facts become undeniable, the government would eventually acknowledge their responsibility. But that's not how politics works. That's definitely not how this is going to work either. Governments don't make decisions his, based on history alone. Secondly, government makes decisions based on political incentives, public opinion, economic interests, and legal risk. If the reparation movement is going to achieve meaningful redress, it cannot remain solely a conversation. It has to become a political and legal conversation because politics and law are what ultimately determines the outcome. Africa and the Caribbean have to continue speaking with one voice. We're seeking, we're seeing CARICOM, Ghana, African states, and the African Union. All of them are engaged. We're seeing scholars, legal experts, and civil society organization working together across continents. I believe that this is the most important lesson. The pursuit of reparatory justice cannot depend on what Britain, France, or any other colonial powers choose to do. Our greatest challenge, just listen to me, global black family. Our greatest challenge is to build a Kai of Chicago, to help improve our economic systems that create prosperity regardless of whether reparation comes or not. Through the business, we want to do local, state, national, and international trade between Black America, Africa, and the Caribbean, as well as Brazil. by investing in each other's business, partnership, sharing technology, research, and capital. We have to build uh, economic, strong economics, strong black institutions, build our own supply chains that connect our businesses directly instead of routing everything through former colonial businesses. Continue pursuing every legitimate diplomatic and legal avenue available, but at the same time build a future for our children, whether reparation come in our lifetime or not. What we're witnessing isn't simply a disagreement over the past, it's a struggle over how the past should shape our future and how we do business with white people. How can, or Europeans, how, or Americans, how can African nations move forward without confronting the systems that helped created all these social inequalities that we still see today? What do you all make of the British PM comments, and what did you think of Prime Minister um, Maya Mod- Motley response? Do you believe reparations are ultimately about financial compensation, or are they about something much bigger? Please leave a public comment about the topic in the comment section below this audio podcast and share with your friends on all social media sites you are on. This will help get the ball rolling. Our third topic, Asian Asian business are closing. The wealth transfer has begun. All right, just bear with me, ladies and gentlemen. I got to catch my breath. Just a moment. And I'm almost through, so that's a good thing. I must admit that I did not think that the wealth transfer would still be in effect because nowadays black people would only protest for a few weeks, but I'm glad to see that our people are getting better and more on code with each other. I came across a few TikTok videos about people on the ground reporting on how a lot of these Asian businesses are going out of businesses because black people have decided to take the wealth out of their hands and putting it back into the black community. One of these TikTok videos is entitled, quote, Banding Asian Business in the Black Community, unquote. Another TikTok video is entitled, quote, Asian Beauty Supply Store where the owner was racist to me is going out of business, unquote. To watch the full TikTok video, just go to my Medium transcript located in the comment section below this audio podcast. Click on the link, then scroll down to show and prove. Here's here's the thing. It's been decades of disrespect. This is more than about Rick Chow, ladies and gentlemen. And this wealth transfer has spread nationwide. This generation is not used to Black Americans reacting this way. They're used to us being mad, having a little temper tantrum, and then returning back to their beauty supply stores, nail salons, and restaurants in a in a week or in a week or two. Their whole economy has been based on us. They're dependent on the black dollar. And again, if you're whole economy is based on us. Why would you be stupid enough to piss off your customer base? I'm just saying. For example, my audience is black people, Afro Caribbean people, and African people. Um, so that's my audience. Since Asian businesses are closing, try to buy those businesses out or lease from them and replace those Asian business with black businesses within the black community. Um, that would make it a real wealth transfer. The goal should not be to let the Asian business fall down. Instead, it should be to replace Asian business with black businesses. When black businesses open up, we have to patronize them. This is what we're going to teach our members and students once we get my revised book on that, or once we get my ebook on that bestsellers list, and also getting this film project fully funded and made. Just showing Asian people a lesson doesn't really benefit the black community. The Grassroots Community Activist Institute of Chicago will enter the grocery store industry, the healthcare industry, and the housing industry and place our business in both the low income black community and the middle class black community. We will form an alliance with the African immigrant community in Chicago and surrounding suburbs. Gakayo Chicago will hire black people, African people, and others from the community. That's how we will circle our money in the black community from 6 hours to about 2 or 3 weeks, give or take. That's when wealth is truly transferring back into the black community. This all started with the delineation movement from FBA. I give credit to where credit is due. This is the time to transfer all our talents and skills over here so that together we can pool our wealth back into the black community where it belongs. I'm proud of y'all. Y'all doing the Lord's work. Please leave a public comment about the topic in the comment section below this audio podcast and share with your friends on all social media sites that you are on. This will help get the ball rolling. I am a black American, a descendant of American slaves slash freedmen. I am called to help improve the lives of black Americans who become good camp members and build a connection with African immigrants who want to be a part of us. Good camp members will assist me in building and running this Christian business so that both groups, Black Americans and African immigrants, can build and heal from the scars of slavery and colonization. My people who have the moral capital, our fight for civil rights and human rights, this business is for you and your immediate family members. Please leave a public comment about the topic in the comment section below this audio podcast and share with your friends on all social media sites you are on. This will help get the ball rolling. Thank you for listening to our audio podcast and for joining us on the live stream. If you want to, if you have specific questions for me, I would drop the link in the chat room, and so if you want to ask me specific questions, you can do that. Again, we are we greatly appreciate it. I need you all to support our film project so that way we can move Cam to the next level and get it on the big screen to let the whole black world know who we are and what we're trying to do for descendants of American slaves slash freedmen who reside in the low income black community. Quote, Hood Liberator made in Chicago, the war against Willie Lynch begins. You can be a part of this historic docudrama by contributing to our crowdfunding pages, which are our GoFundMe page, our Buy Me a Coffee page, or our PayPal Giving Fund page, which will help fund marketing, promotion, clearance, and legal general expenses. Thank you for listening to our YouTube live or the playback. If you reside on the African continent, then I recommend that you follow me on my Pod Chaser because it won't eat away your bundles because it's audio only. I provide the link in the comment section below. If you are new to Help Stop the Genocide in American Ghettos podcast, welcome to our safe space where we discuss Black issues and African issues. We do this every week. This will conclude our audio podcast for today. Like, share, and subscribe. See you on the next episode. Now, before I leave, we're going to watch a few videos, ladies and gentlemen. So, trying to see. Okay. Okay, not that one. I don't want that one. All right, here we go.
Joining us now, Eddie Glaude Jr., MS Now political analyst and professor at Princeton University. He's also the author of the new book, America USA, How Race Shadows the Nation's Anniversaries. And also with us, Michelle Norris, MS Now senior contributing editor. Thank you both for joining us this morning. I hope you are not nursing too bad of a July 4th hangover. But Eddie, I want to start with you and ask you about why you think that a part of our society is so comfortable in this moment in time in explicitly showing the double consciousness of our American history that you so often talk about.
First of all, it's great to begin the morning with each of you. I think it's important to acknowledge that Donald Trump's administration, Donald Trump's political presence over the last 10 years has given a permission structure for the ugly underbelly of America to become more explicit. It used to be the case, I think part of the post-consensus of the mid-20th century freedom movements was that kind of explicit racism was moved to the margins of American politics. You could engage in racial dog whistles, but you couldn't be explicitly racist. Just think about how David Duke kind of brought how he was treated and eventually marginalized. Think about Pat Buchanan and the way in which he was embraced and then eventually marginalized. But now that sort of rhetoric, those dog whistles, no one engages in dog whistles anymore. It's just kind of foghorns. So I think there has been a permission structure to allow a certain segment of the country to declare that America must remain a white republic. And they're doing it in the midst of woke scare, in the midst of communism and the like. So here we are, just dealing with the legacy of the country in full view in this moment, in its 250th year.
You know, Michelle, speaking of the ugly underbelly of the country, this legacy of our nation, I want to put up a startling set of pictures. Let's put it up. There's the Black women on the metro here in Washington, surrounded by those folks from the Patriot Front, and then on the left is that classic photo of Elizabeth Eckford surrounded by fellow students at Little Rock's Central High School. She is one of the Little Rock Nine. The parallels here, the symmetry here is startling, Michelle.
That photo is probably Pulitzer worthy. It's a little early to start talking about that, but that photo is one instance of a woman on a bus surrounded by people who are wearing masks, who are about to march in Washington carrying Confederate flags. But I see that photo and I see America's workplaces. I see America's school systems. I mean, those men are wearing masks, but they go and they surround women like her in their workplaces. They will go back to a place where they can take off their mask, and then they will be working someplace where their noxious ideas, will be put in place in hiring decisions, in decisions about who gets a mortgage and who doesn't. However, when I look at them marching, trying to project power, I don't see power, I see fear. I see the projection of fear. I see people who are afraid of a future that has already arrived. They are afraid of an America that is multicultural. They are worried about a multicultural democracy. They are worried about losing power. They want to create an America where white people and white men are dominant. And, America has to then decide, do we want to hold on to our superpower status? Do we want to be prominent in the world, or do we want to be a supremacist nation? Because, if we do not produce enough college-educated white men to drive our GDP. When you go to the doctor, who is serving you? When you go to the hospital, who is serving you? When you look at our economy, who is holding it up with their hands and their shoulders and their intellect and their hard work? That is the America that will keep moving us forward. And the people who are fighting for this supremacist idea, these supremacist ideas, are willing to sacrifice all of that for the sake of their own power structure and this need to feel like they are above someone else. They are willing to put America in a lower position globally in order to continue to elevate themselves.
I mean, those losers that were walking around DC with those masks on yesterday, Michelle, when I see folks like that, I see exactly what you see when you say you see fear, because they know what they have done with being the majority in this country. And so their concern is that we, black women, brown women, the black and brown folks who at some point will inherit the majority of this country, will do the same thing to them that they have done to us. I'm going to say that before I play. I'm going to move on because I'm getting a little emotional here. Vice President J.D. Vance spoke yesterday about people who criticize America and what that means. And I want you guys to listen to this.
$15 a month sounds steep to me. That's almost a whole AI subscription. Then I did the math on the hours you lose.
You will hear a couple small but loud voices today speak obsessively not of our national greatness, but of our national imperfections. They will speak of the powerless and the dispossessed. They will tell you that America is just another country where the weak struggle against the strong. So what I'd ask you to do, my fellow Americans, on our 250th birthday, is to reject the two-dimensional view of your fellow citizens and reject the two-dimensional view of your country.
Speak obsessively not of our national greatness, but of our national imperfections. Donald Trump, Eddie Glaude, has only done that for years. He started his political career by doing that. He has talked about the crumbling America for a decade. So he could be talking about the president here. I think he's pretending like he's not. But even Donald Trump knows that if you seemingly love a country, that you should be able to say what you want and criticize it. So what is the J.D. Vance talking about here?
Well, let's put that. We could just look at the American Carnage speech, right, and just give an example of exactly what you're talking about. But I want you to understand, Eugene, that this is an ideological position. They reject more perfect union talk altogether, because for them, America's perfection was secured in its founding. And that's all we need to do is to remember and restore. To talk about more perfect union is to talk about all of the failings, right? The failures with regards to slavery, with regards to women, with regards to child labor, with regards to workers and the like, right? So for them, that kind of conversation, right, exposes the country and it opens up this kind of multicultural imagining of America, this multiracial imagining of America. They want to shut that down. J.D. Vance wants us to simply shut up, those of us who look like me, right? They want us to shut up and be grateful. That's what they want us to do. And I think it's really important for us to understand the way in which they're mobilizing the founding for their white supremacist ends. And J.D. Vance tries to put it in kind of flowery language or makes it sound reasonable. But at the end of the day, what he's arguing, right, is that America is more than an idea. America is rooted in a culture that is fundamentally about blood and soil. Donald Trump said that in front of Mount Rushmore. He said, what? He said, American identity, American freedom. There's no American freedom without American culture. That's a quote. And so I think we need to understand these folk for who they are and name the devil that has us by the throat. These are white nationalists for sure.
Michelle, let's get a little bit into Donald Trump's message last night and what he had to say about the semi-quincentennial.
Unlike so many others in the world, in this country, we have freedom of speech, freedom of religion, equal justice under the law, although I wasn't treated that well, but we won't get into that. We rebuilt our military in my first term. We used it a little bit in our, actually, I should say third term, but I won't do that because I don't want any controversy.
When I was rewatching the speech this morning, I'm sorry to say I was not able to stay awake last night to watch it in real time, despite the fireworks' best efforts to keep me awake. It was hard for me not to think of the other major moment that we just saw in this country that you were witness to, which was the opening of the Obama Presidential Center. When you are comparing and contrasting these two speeches, what are your takeaways about today's Republican and Democratic Party?
I'm glad you mentioned the opening of the Obama Presidential Center, which had its own 250th celebration on the patio open to the public in Chicago, because that was another split screen moment.
And they want to be compensated. They took it for free, but they want to be compensated. They had no passports and visas when they came, but they want to be compensated.
I'm not sure that you, thank you very much for the question. I'm not sure that you want me to reply to things that really are asinine. And certainly the notion that we should pay the United Kingdom for oppressing us, for enslaving us, and for treating us as chattel. And that is the difference. Slavery existed before, but this was the first time that human beings were defined as chattel. And I've been very clear all along that the 1661 Slave Code of Barbados, which predated the Code Noir, which the French have just repealed less than 2 months ago, all distinguished themselves, and all of the slave laws that followed the 1661 Slave Code of Barbados, by the treatment of human beings as chattel. We are not asking for charity. We're asking to be able to ensure that justice can be done. In 1834, the British Parliament did not need to be persuaded of that fact with respect to the loss of property because we were chattel and the compensation of the slave owners of £20 million. I would like to advise that those who have not yet read sufficient to understand the history do so before making comments that really do not reflect well on them. With respect to the movement, this is a global movement now. We just came from Accra in Ghana, and as you know, the United Nations passed the resolution that Ghana brought in March of this year. We have seen Pope Leo make comments in this year of our Lord. We have seen President Macron recognize that the conversation for reparations, just as His Majesty King Charles, when he was Prince Charles at the opening of the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in Rwanda, stated clearly that reparations was a conversation whose time had come. I have no doubt that there are British parliamentarians who want to distract people from the domestic politics of the United Kingdom at this point in time. But the Caribbean should not be used as a prop in those circumstances. Thank you.
Yes, that is how it is. There's no shortage of arrogant people in Europe who are still believing that Africa is the empire of slaves. The former UK minister came out and saying the former colonies of Britain have to pay compensation to UK for developing their former colonies. What development she's talking about? Enslaving Africa, colonizing Africa, destroying our culture, destroying our resources, stealing our resources. Those are developments. Dividing people. Those are developments that we have to pay. They still seeing us as mad people. How can you say those who were enslaved have to pay reparation?
There's this machine. It can undo the apocalypse.
We don't know what's out there.
Only one way to find out.
I can't stay in this universe! I'm bald!
Your balcony problems usually start before the truck even arrives. Late. Wrong.
Instead, those who enslaved us, who destroyed our culture, who stolen our resources, who destroyed our culture, who divided our families to pay us. I don't know what they think in their minds. You know, one time Traore said, the Western world still believing that Africa is the empire of slaves. That's how they believe. Maybe they are being taught in school like that. I don't know. Let me take you to what Traore one time said.
That are raging. They create them for their own interest. Finally, according to them, the empire of slaves is Africa and some South American peoples. In their minds, as I mentioned earlier, Africa belongs to them. Our lands, our riches belong to them. And they can't conceive that Africans could emancipate, rise and challenge them. And for this reason, they believe Africans are easy to manipulate and driven by emotions. They will always find an African to fight against his brother. And it has always been like that.
Yes, that is Traore saying that Western powers still believing that Africa is the empire of slaves. And I can agree with Traore, because if you try to ask why our resources, when we want to sell our gold, when we want to sell our oil, when we want to sell our diamond, there's someone somewhere hanging set a price for us. They set a price for our gold. They're telling us you have to sell your gold into dollar or into euro. It means they're still controlling us. They're still believing that we are the empire of slaves. You know, and I want to share also what a professor one time said about white South Africans when black South Africans tried to demand sharing of the land. You know what the white South Africans said? They said that they need compensation.
Otherwise, in 1948, the Europeans in that country, the Boers and the British, took the view that Africans were children of a lesser God, that we were only fit to be hewers of wood and growers of what? That is how they held. until 1994. But as I speak today now, 80% of the land in South Africa is still in the hands of the whites. And they want to be compensated. They took it for free, but they want to be compensated. They had no passports and visas when they came, but they want to be compensated. They are saying the same thing in Zimbabwe. They want to be compensated. They want to be compensated in Namibia. They want to be compensated.
And that's how white people believing, that they came to Africa, they find the land, they have developed the land. What development of the land they are talking about? They want to be compensated for developing the land. You came to my home, you find my garden, you watering my garden, and you want to take my garden by saying you have contributed. And when fruits are coming out, you are taking my fruits. When I want to control my garden, you are saying you want to be compensated because you have developed. What development are you talking about? What UK development contributed to their former colonies? Torturing our ancestors, kidnapping our people, destroying our culture, dividing our people, enslaving Africa, colonizing Africa. Those are developments. You know, I wonder why these people, they have courage and energy to speak like that. Why they don't fear anything to speak like that. You know, it's because they know very well that they have destroyed us, they have divided us. They know that we Africans, we cannot speak with one voice. They know very well that they have destroyed Africa into the position where Africans, we can't speak with one voice. They have succeeded to divide the continent, countries into political parties, parties that will not come together, parties that will not sit on a single table, parties that will not defend their nations. They have instilled puppets who are running government on behalf of them. That's why they are still believing that we are under their control. I know some of our leaders who are cowards. They will pay reparation to their former colonies because they will threaten even to sanction us that we colonized you. You have to pay us for colonization, for colonizing you, for enslaving you. We wiped your ancestors. You have to pay to us. That's how they're behaving. That's how they're behaving. And this is because Africans, we are divided. They have that power to speak like that because they know that nothing we can do. We are divided. We are not speaking one voice. We don't trust each other. Black people are not organized. Look what happened in South Africa. And they have the energy and the power to speak like that because what happened in South Africa are telling them that these people are not speaking with one voice. Recently, President Ramaphosa denied state visit to Ghana. It means South Africa and Ghana are not speaking with one voice right now. The same to Nigeria. Look, Burkina and Cote d'Ivoire. Cote d'Ivoire is being used to destabilize Sahel through Burkina Faso. They know very well that we have instilled puppets who are working on behalf of them. That's why they have courage, they have decision to speak like that, and nothing will face them. If you try to imagine what Africa or Africans have to say like that, the consequences you will hear from noisemakers. When South Africa said they want to take back the land, you remember the noise. And still the noise is being loud. Some said there was white genocide in South Africa. Some said whites are being killed. Some said, you see. But for them, no problem. And even big nations didn't support the motion to accept that transatlantic slave trade was a crime against humanity. These big countries that whom majority of Africans are respecting, they didn't accept. And today they're saying we have to compensate them. We have to pay for them. How these people are so arrogant. They don't have even a shame to speak like that. But that's how they are. That's how they are. That's how they see Africa. That we have to pay. So it means they have the right to take even our minerals. So when you see these people taking our minerals, they feel and they believe that they have the right to take our minerals because they are still believing we don't have capacity to develop our minerals.
Raising Cane's is celebrating National Chicken Finger Day.
Check yeah.
What if I told you that the moment your book is published, there could be a giant billboard featuring you and your book in Times Square? And in addition, a video trailer that tells your book's story, a paid advertising campaign.
We don't have purpose to use our minerals. And that's why they are stealing our minerals, they're taking our artifacts, they're taking our resources, sometimes for free. They're not paying taxes. Are those who are saying we have taken this amount of gold? Even we Africans, we don't know the amount of gold that are going out. Can we give statistics that maybe last year the continent of Africa exported maybe several tons, exact number, maybe 15 tons or 12 tons of gold out of the continent? We don't know. But who are giving statistics? It's Western power. So it means they're controlling us. Wake up, Africa. That's how the world is looking at us. And we are saying we want a permanent seat at the UN Security Council. Do you think these people give us a permanent seat at the UN Security Council with veto power to be like them? Why they're saying we have to pay reparation for being enslaved? Will they accept Africa to have a permanent seat at the UN Security Council with veto power? And they said this one time, these people will not accept giving us a permanent seat at the UN Security Council with the veto power because these organizations were made for them, not for others. That's why they excluded Africa. Africa was there even before them, but they excluded Africa. They're saying Africa was not free. So we are free right now for more than 80 years. We are free. What happened? Nothing. Have they tried? What they're doing right now is politics, playing games. You know, we will support you to join UN Security Council. You know, you are supposed. They are just pretending, but in real sense, they are not committed to what they're saying. And don't trust these people. We have witnessed when people said we want this, in the other side they're doing something else. They're speaking in different things here, and they're doing different things in the other side. That's how they are. We have to learn to what we see, not to what we hear, from what we see. Fellow Africans, our only salvation is for us to come together, to unite, and to speak in one voice. That's the only salvation for us. And if they contributed positive, why they didn't include Africa into the formation of United Nations in 1840s? If it's true, they contributed positive. Why Britain Wood institutions excluded Africa if they contributed positive? These people are so arrogant, and they don't want to pay reparation. That's the reality. They don't want to accept the injustice they committed, the crimes they committed to Africans. So they don't want to be responsible for the destruction of this continent. So they are trying to find the way to escape. This is a hypocrisy of the highest order. How can you say slaves have to pay their masters for being slaves? How is it possible? How is it possible? Till today, they are still hosting the remains of our ancestors. They have skulls, they have bones, they have artifacts from Africa. So they want to be compensated. Shame on them. And that's why one time I said, these people will not give Africa the permanent seat at the UN Security Council with the veto power. You know why? Because they're still believing that Africa is under their control. And they know, because we are so divided, we can't do anything. We can't hold them accountable. We are not organized. They have instilled puppets in this continent. They know that we will not speak with one voice because they are puppets. They are people who they control. So they know very well that nothing we can do to them. That's why they have courage and power to speak what they are speaking. But we young people, we can say, enough is enough. Let us cut ties with these people who are disrespecting us. We have witnessed in Burkina, in Mali, in Niger, cutting ties with France for France disrespecting those countries. Even other countries, we need to cut ties with UK. They cannot treat us like that. You know, UK don't respect Africa. It's our leaders who went to UK and loaded into buses like school kids. And today, they want to be compensated. Look how ashamed they are. The only way for Africa to be respected is for we Africans to come together, to unite, to speak with one voice, and to cut ties with those who are disrespecting us. I know it is difficult to take such kind of decisions because some of our leaders are being instilled by these people. Behind of some of our leaders, these people are behind them. And that's why they have power to come and say,
I feel so empty inside. My life has no meaning. Thanks to Bamboo HR, there are no darns, dang it, or...
We have to pay to them. And I know some of our leaders will accept. We have leaders who are so cowards, who will pay to them. We witnessed one time when the cathedral, I think so, of France catch fire and burnt. I remember one of the chief and one of the leaders in Africa contributed to rebuild and to repair the cathedral in France. Try to imagine, he contributed millions of people, millions of money to repair the cathedral. Why? Because France is their master. So we have leaders who we accept. If these people say pay reparation for being colonized, we have leaders who are so cowards, who are being instilled to save the interests of the Western powers. But I'm saying the only solution for we Africans to be respected is for Africans to come together, uniting and speak with one voice. Yes, some are being paid, some are being in their payroll. They know that they're controlling us, but majority of us, if we can come together and say enough is enough.
Imagine waking up in your own house, walking out into your own backyard, looking at a fruit tree you've been nurturing for years, and suddenly receiving a formal stamp letter from an international bureaucrat sitting thousands of miles away across the ocean. Now, imagine that letter explicitly commanding you, under the threat of global penalties, that you are legally forbidden from eating, picking, or selling your own fruit. It sounds like an absolute comedy parody, doesn't it? A complete joke. But this is exactly the surreal theater playing out on the international stage right now. Welcome back to the table, and an incredibly warm welcome to the entire Power and Pulse family. If you are checking in for the first time, drop your bags at the door, smash that subscribe button, and join the community that looks past the sanitized corporate media filters to examine the raw, beating heart of continental self-determination. If you've been running with us from day one, you already know we don't do scripted establishment talkings here. We pull back the curtain on global power, and tonight a literal geopolitical earthquake has just rattled the foundations of the global financial matrix. In a ruling that has completely stunned international observers, the World Bank's International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes, a tribunal quietly operating out of Washington, D.C., has officially ordered the Republic of Niger to completely freeze the sale of its own uranium. Let that sink in. A banking tribunal in America is telling a sovereign African state what it can and cannot do with the raw wealth embedded inside its own native earth. We are talking about the critical fuel mined from the recently nationalized Somalia oil fields, the literal energy lifelines that has kept the lights on in Europe's major economies for over 40 consecutive years. But the Western planners who drafted this legal ambush forgot to calculate one vital factor. They forgot that the man currently sitting in the State House in Niamey is built entirely different. I am talking about General Abdurrahman Chiani. Look at that high and mighty legal directive from Washington, shrugged his shoulders, and casually dismissed the entire global verdict on a complete non-event, right? Chiani didn't stutter. Oh, no, he didn't. He made it completely plain. Niger, and Niger alone, will decide the ultimate destiny of its own natural inheritance. Not Paris, not Washington, and certainly not some panel of corporate lawyers sitting in a glossy conference room in the United States.
This is Paytime Solutions. Yes, hi. Please continue to hold.
At Extensus HR, all your HR needs live in one place. Real people who pick up the phone on the first ring. Extensus HR. We put the human back in human resources.
I'm your mother's friend with benefits.
Benefits? Benefits.
Benefits? Benefits.
Yeah, benefits.
With the Credit One Bank.
This isn't some minor dry regulatory dispute over contract clauses. Make no mistakes about it. This is a frontline economic war over absolute territorial autonomy, resource command, and the future of Africa's collective wealth. On paper, the World Bank tries to make this ruling look completely routine and procedural. They want you to believe it's just a standard legal dispute over investment protections and old corporate agreements with the French state-backed nuclear giant Orano. But out here in the real world, this is a calculated, coordinated international blockade designed to choke the economic independence of a nation that dared to say no more. For nearly half a century, this priceless oil left the soil of Niger at absolute bargain basement prices under highly exploitative contracts written up in European boardrooms. It was a beautiful arrangement for the global north. Raw energy flowed out seamlessly, while the local villages surrounding these multi-billion-dollar mining operations remained completely dark at night, lacking basic electricity. But when the transitional administration took control, they tore up the old colonial playbook. In a move that sent absolute panic through Western capitals, Chiani's administration nationalized the operations entirely. For the first time in modern history, Niamey stood up and declared that this strategic asset belongs exclusively to the population of Niger. And how did France react to this sudden loss of their favorite checkout lane? Oh, the comedy writes itself. Within mere months of nationalization, multi-mega reactors across the French nuclear grid suddenly started shutting down or dropping their power outputs. And what was the official, highly scientific explanation given to the public? They told the world that swarms of jellyfish had somehow drifted into the coastal waters and completely clogged up the water intake valves of the maritime nuclear plants. I mean, you literally cannot make this stuff up. 4 months have rolled by, and we are honestly supposed to believe that these legendary, highly organized geopolitical jellyfish are still holding the entire French energy grid hostage? Or is it the sudden painful absence of cheap Nigerian uranium that is actually jamming up Europe's nuclear future? Let's be entirely real here. The desperate World Bank intervention pulls back the curtain on the grand illusion of global development. It exposes the ultimate underlying truth of who actually needs who. Western economic dominance was built entirely on a foundation of artificially cheap raw materials extracted from our continent, while nations like Niger were systematically kept as some of the most impoverished regions on the planet. But the old parasitic model is actively fracturing right before our eyes. Consider the raw data on the board. Chinese Niger has managed to survive, right? Adapt and run its state affairs for over 3 years without a single euro of direct French budgetary assistance or validation. But France, after only a handful of months without unhindered exploitative access to the Sommet mines, their domestic energy infrastructure is openly faltering. This isn't academic theory anymore. This is raw economic leverage. And for the first time since the flags of independence were raised across West Africa, that leverage is sitting firmly on our side of the table. Ask yourself this critical question before we go any further. If Niger completely blocks down its borders and refuses to sell another single gram of uranium to France tomorrow, who actually loses more? A nation used to living dynamically on its own international agriculture, or a hyper-industrialized European state whose every flickering city light, metro line, and household appliance relies directly on Sahelian nuclear fuel? The answer is written in the mounting panic of the international markets. General Chiani has made his position crystal clear. The tribunal's verdict can say whatever it wants. Okay, it is an absolute non-event on the ground. Niger will continue to export its minerals, but it will do so to strategic partners of its own independent choosing, at premium prices of its own independent choosing as well. So, no foreign court is going to issue orders to a free people on how to utilize their ancestral property. This structural clash isn't just about one single landlocked country. It is the defining story of our entire continent. Gold, cobalt, crude oil, natural gas, trillions of dollars of wealth systematically flowing away from our communities under colonial era arrangements, leaving local infrastructures completely lagging behind. This is exactly why Niger joined forces with Burkina Faso and Mali to create the Alliance of the Sahel States. This pact has transformed from one simple security agreement into a roaring continental movement for total regional emancipation. And together, this revolutionary bloc is sending a unified message to the old world order. No more lopsided.
The joy of traveling well is feeling at home.
The predatory contracts. No more foreign military installations operating without legal accountability. No more living like a second-class tenant on your own ancestral land. Look at the sheer hypocrisy of international diplomacy. Not too long ago, high-ranking foreign delegations were flying into Niamey with wild smiles, promising a beautiful new era of equal partnership, mutual respect, and turning a fresh page on history. Yet, while they were busy shaking hands in front of the press cameras, their state-backed corporations were secretly racing to file multi-million-dollar claims in secretive international courts back in Washington, frantically trying to protect decades-old lopsided sweetheart deals. So you see, this is the exact administrative duplicity that the transition government has completely called out. Public diplomacy offers you friendship, while private contracts demand absolute unyielding control. As one prominent local minister brilliantly summarized it, they arrived in our capital with smiles and they left our capital with lawsuits. Let's talk straight. You cannot invite a nest of venomous cobras into your living room and honestly expect not to get beaten. General Chiani's stance is not simple defiance for the sake of being rebellious. It is a profound declaration of absolute political maturity. It is a permanent line drawn in the desert sand. And the real question hanging over the continent right now is simple. How many African leaders possess the internal courage to step up and stand shoulder to shoulder with this vision, instead of sitting on the sidelines watching it with quiet envy? If our nation simply coordinated our vast natural assets, the entire infrastructure of external leverage would crumble into dust within a matter of weeks. We hold the master keys to global industrialization, but we have spent the last 60 years foolishly handing those keys over to international patrons for absolute pennies. Uranium is not some standard everyday market commodity. It is the literal heartbeat of the entire French state infrastructure, generating over 70% of their national electricity. So, without secure, predictable access to Sahelian uranium, their entire domestic nuclear model is completely exposed. For generations, the colonial contract was completely lopsided. The foreign entities looked the raw fuel, generated trillions in manufacturing profits, and left the local communities to host the radioactive mining waste. Under the current leadership in Niamey, that equation is being systematically rewritten. Energy analysts across Western Europe are now openly admitting what they used to whisper in secret. Their industrial stockpiles are climbing down. Global mineral prices are surging, and alternative suppliers like Kazakhstan or Australia simply cannot match the high-grade volumes of the Sahel overnight. So, this is exactly why they rush to the World Bank Court with such frantic speed. This isn't about legal technicalities. It's an existential battle for their own industrial survival. But if a major international power genuinely needs African minerals to maintain its basic civilization, why on earth should African citizens sell it for absolute crumbs? The narrative paradigm of this continent has fundamentally shifted, and there is absolutely no turning back the clock. The era of bowing down to overseas tribunals and allow external entities to dictate our economic destiny is facing a total spectacular collapse. We are documenting the blueprint of an entirely new, self-governed African future right here on this platform. So if you are completely done with the old compromised political elite who know how to beg but don't know how to build, and if you want to support independent, raw, unfiltered media that brings you the truth without a single ounce of corporate filtering, then you need to lock yourself into this channel right now by smashing that subscribe button, hit the like button, share this documentary. You are the absolute lifeblood, the energy, the unyielding strength behind Power and Pulse. Thank you all for watching. I am your host, Marie, and this is Power and Pulse, and until the next time, stay blessed.
By now, you you have heard and are still hearing all about the birthright citizenship decision that came down from the Supreme Court that basically struck down an executive order of President Donald Trump, basically saying that birthright citizenship.
Fair Use, African Diaspora News Channel.
Per the 14th Amendment is over. You cannot come here and have a baby and then that baby becomes a citizen, right? Especially if you are here illegally or if you're here under a temporary status. So from that point, it being struck down, there was a whole lot of opinion and emotions and all kind of stuff. But most notably from the Democratic Party, they were very excited. And they were tweeting and making videos and all kind of stuff, celebrating the decision from the Supreme Court. Now, Yvette D. Clarke, who is the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus and the co-chair of the Caribbean Caucus, because she is of Jamaican descent, she tweeted this: America's greatness was built upon birthright citizenship. Its future will be too. Man, what does that even mean? So are you saying that was built on the enslaved people because that's what it was originally for? Or are you saying that people, immigrants, illegal immigrants, or whoever coming over here having babies and now they have the birthright citizenship? Is that what you're saying? Are you saying that illegal immigrants built this country? That's what America is built on? Because I'm confused. I'm just trying to figure it out. Now, she also went on to post this: as it has been since 1968, and as it will remain in permanent glory, birthright citizenship is the law of our land. Today, the Supreme Court affirmed an obvious truth in this nation that a child of any refugee is as equally American as any descendant of the Revolution, with the same rights, opportunities, and possibilities afforded to them. That's what she said in part, right? So she's basically saying that there is equal to the descendants of slavery. Our people didn't come over here illegally. We didn't come over here on our own free will. Our people were forced on those plantations, and it was fought for, as Donald Trump loosely says, the babies of slaves, to say, hey, okay, yeah, we're going to give y'all citizenship. Y'all are free. You're not owned per se. You're now, free to be a citizen. So are your children, and so on and so forth, which is how I'm a citizen, because I'm a descendant of slavery. But there is Yvette D. Clarke, the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, saying that the people who came over here legally and had children, they're equal to us and they deserve all the things that we get. I want to keep repeating that to you. She is the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, which means that they were supposed to, right? Now, I know some of the founders weren't Black American, like Shirley Chisholm, but there she is, championing illegal immigration and the behavior and the things that they do. They come over here and have children illegally, and she's saying they're equal and they should get all the stuff that you should get. But she ain't the first person we heard say that. A lot of them have said that, right? Like Permelia Jayapal, the congresswoman from Washington State. She thinks that they should get reparations, they being illegal immigrants, due to being harmed by the Trump administration. I'll show it to you. Just here you go.
Then we also need offensive actions around prosecutions. We need real accountability, because at the end of the day, the people that have been inflicting this harm need to be prosecuted. They need to be brought before us, and they need to be held account for the trauma that they have created. And we are going to have some form of reparation.
As you saw there, I'm going to keep showing that to y'all, because like I said, a lot of y'all ain't mad enough about that for me, that this lady said that illegal immigrants should get reparations because they were harmed by ICE. Never mind Black American descendants of slavery who was harmed by America. Never mind that, right? And guess what? Some of y'all gonna go out there and vote for that, but I'll hold off on that in just a minute. Then there's another tweet by another congresswoman. This is what she said: I am the proud daughter of Guatemalan immigrants. I am a proud, quote unquote, anchor baby, and I am an American. So that was Delia Ramirez. And I saw her. She was talking about how her mother came over here pregnant and had her. Her mother came over here illegally and had her. And that's why you heard, these are her words. Those aren't mine. She says she is a proud anchor baby. And so she is a congresswoman who has the ability to legislate and make rules and laws and things like that will favor illegal immigration. And we know that the Democratic Party, they are pro illegal immigrant and con Black Americans, right? And really anybody in America, but especially Black Americans, their most loyal group of voters. They are championing illegal immigration and are proud and hijacking the things that was meant for us and bragging about they mamas coming over here, having them here illegally. And now they sit up in Congress. Ain't that something? But you know what? I'm not necessarily mad at them. It sucks what they're doing. I'm mad at you. Yeah, I'm you. If you keep voting for the Democratic Party, and listen, I'm not telling you to vote for the Republicans. I'm just telling you for the party you do vote for. And if you don't vote for them, then you can still listen. But I'm talking to you. These people are unapologetic about what they are doing and are trying to do to this country. They are unapologetic about the benign neglect of Black Americans. They're doing it in your face. They're not even hiding it anymore. They're telling you we want to give the illegal immigrants everything. Give it to them all. Brand new socks and drawers, which you don't get, and you gonna go vote for that. You know why? Because you silly, and I'm trying to be austere. You silly. You allow people to guilt you into, Trump's a boogeyman. Yeah, he all that, okay? But you let the Democrats guilt you into voting for more of nothing for yourself. Dr. Claude Anderson warned us. Watch this.
Have an unending influx of immigrants into the country. And that's what Dr. Price is talking about. And nobody, no Black politician, no Black organization wants to deal with that issue. They will avoid it at all costs. Even though in their hearts they know that's one of the biggest problems for Black folk. We anticipate in the next 10 to 12 years, approximately 8 to 6 million Hispanics coming into the United States and 41 million Asians. You have been the majority minority for 400 years in this country. You have been the number 2 population for 400 years. You're gonna get kicked out of being number 2. You're gonna go down and become number 4. Now, common sense, even a third grade education would tell you, if you didn't get anything when you were number 2, you all jumped ahead of me, but anyway, you can guess what you're gonna get when you become number 4. And the worst part about it is as you descend and go down to number 4, those other groups are gonna go up. And as they go past you, you're gonna have major racial clashes in this country. You're gonna have fights all over this country between Blacks and Hispanics, Blacks and Asians, Blacks and poor whites. And Black folk cannot fight all these groups. Everybody can not always be against Black folk.
So that was his warning of what was going to happen to us at the time. That was in 1990 when he said that, right? We were number 2 in population, whites, and then Blacks, but now it's white, Hispanic, Black, Asian, and we about to be, as he said, at the bottom. He said, if you wasn't getting nothing as number 2, what you think you're going to get as number 4? Even more of nothing. And here you are continuing to vote for the same old benign neglect and watching these people play in your face. And then you know what? Some of y'all gonna get in this comment section and crash out and be mad at me for trying to enlighten you as to why are you voting for a group of people who do not vote for you? Why do you do that? Right? Now, ultimately, we should vote for self by practicing group economics, accepting our own and being ourselves, right? Do for self, circulate our dollars more than 6 hours in our community, build up. That's the ultimate vote. But I'm saying that you are still voting for a party that will do for everybody else and nothing for you. You got to own some of that. Some of that is on you that you do that. You can't keep ripping the Band-Aid off. And hell, Black Americans ain't never got no Band-Aid, right? But if we do get one, you can't keep ripping it off time. Ow, I'm bleeding. Can somebody get me a Band-Aid? No, because you keep doing it to yourself. But keep on voting like that. Keep on voting for them people who are laugh and dance and celebrate illegals coming over here and having babies and then getting the resources that you are being told you can't have. You keep doing that. And what Dr. Claude Anderson told us is going to come to fruition, if it hasn't already, of being a permanent underclass, because you keep doing it to yourself and then you keep wondering why it keeps being done to you. You keep doing it to you. So anyway,
U.S. ambassador to South Africa has hosted. The new U.S. ambassador to South Africa has hosted what many people are calling a Berlin conference in South Africa. U.S. ambassador to South Africa.
My bad. Fair Use ADAC. That's the African Diaspora News Channel.
Africa, Brent Bozell III has hosted a bunch of right-wingers, apartheid lovers, racist human beings, liars, manipulators, fraudsters. Did I mention racist? Oh, well, just in case I didn't mention racist. Here we go. Racist old that can't seem to comprehend that this is no longer 1948. These racist grandpas gathered at the U.S. Embassy to discuss how the U.S. government's focus on the white community can contribute to a safer and prosperous South Africa. Or maybe they are discussing how they can deepen tribal tensions in South Africa as per Israel's request. We never know with these grandpas, really. We don't know what's going on with these treasonous pigs these days. What are they up to? What are they up to? Kali Kriel, the guy that voted no to ending apartheid in the 1992 referendum, claims that they were discussing ways to resolve the hostility between the U.S. government and South Africa. According to the United States government, South Africa's diplomatic ties with China, Russia, and Iran is the reason why there is tension between these two states. America says if South Africa wants a relationship with the United States, it should sever ties. It should sever all ties with America's adversaries. But what America fails to acknowledge is that South Africa is not a proxy of America. We are a sovereignty with our own set of laws, and we will not abide by America's book of law. What pisses me off about this meeting is that they are discussing South Africa's future and development with non-government officials. These people don't even make up more than 25% of the country's population, and yet their needs are prioritized above the majority's needs. While we are busy targeting African migrants, the white people are getting their ducks in a row. This meeting makes me realize that white people, wherever they are on this planet, they'll always have each other's back. And the white genocide claims should have showed us this. The way that white genocide lie united all European descendants around the globe warmed my heart. It really did. It really did. It was like watching a bunch of snakes in their mating ball, all huddled up, cozy in their nest of lies and deception. It was a beautiful sight to see. Something Black South Africans failed to do: to unite, to support, and protect each other across the diaspora. Divided, we shall fall. And in the next coming years, the economic depression that is going to hit Black South Africans will be massive. You think you are broke now? Watch the space. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen, the modern day Berlin conference. Once again, they sit in a boardroom alone and discuss the trajectory of our lives and shape our future without so much of a conversation with us. And you know what is weird? Do you want to know what is weird, family? What is weird is that Jacinta Ngobese Zuma, the leader of March and March, spent so much time organizing a protest that aimed to put South Africans first, or whatever the hell she thinks she was doing, when it comes to conversations about the development of South Africa and the United States, or with the aid of the United States. Their Trojan horse, Jacinta Ngobese Zuma, should have been at that table. She can't spend so much time making the environment conducive for your divisive rhetorics and then you leave her out in the cold like this. Does it make sense? I mean, guys, it is not easy mobilizing the entire country to hate black people, to divide the diaspora and spit on the graves of the Pan-Africans that your ancestors killed. It was not easy for her, facing scrutiny from all black people all over the world, causing African leaders to threaten to cut ties with South Africa. It's not easy. The least you could have done is to put her name on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. She deserves that much. No, man, it's not right. Jacinta spent so much time, so much effort protesting, putting together these protests, these Afrophobic protests that only target black people. The scrutiny that she got from the diaspora, I can imagine how that was derailing to her mental health. I can imagine how depressing that must be. It was so depressive. I bet it was so depressive. She was getting anxiety. Everybody in the diaspora hates her. Literally, she is the face of black division. She's the face of African fragmentation. So when it comes to conversations about the development of South Africa with the aid of the United States, Jacinta should have been on that table because she put her life on the line. She put her reputation on the line for you guys. And then the next thing you're going to call a bunch of Afrikaners to discuss the way forward, when it was Jacinta that laid the foundation and the groundwork for your divisive rhetoric to take form and shape. She put her life in the line for you. The least you could have done is put her on the table and discuss the way forward. Humor her, or else put her name on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Something should have been done. Something should be done to reward her. All that hard work gone down the drain. For what? For what? For what? Reward your puppet. Reward her, and reward her heavily. Don't exclude her in this kind of conversations. I'm so annoyed. And as an ambassador, as a US ambassador to South Africa, discussing the future of South Africa with non-government officials, when are you going to meet with other races that run organizations that are non-government officials? Or is this only privy to white people? I hate Brand Bozell III. This is someone that also supported apartheid from the United States. This is someone that pressured the Reagan administration to not end apartheid, to not support Nelson Mandela in his quest to end apartheid. That mobilized the Reagan administration, the Bush administration, that also mobilized Margaret Thatcher, the former Prime Minister of the UK, mobilized them to put Nelson Mandela on the terrorist list. Yeah. This is Brent Bozell, and today he's been awarded as our ambassador, rubbing salt to our wound, laughing in our faces. He's been rewarded the highest diplomatic role. No. This is a dog eat dog world. You only survive in this world if you're evil enough. And we've seen how people from Epstein Island are evil and how they are heavily rewarded for their evilness. I swear to God, these people are not people. These are fallen angels. Anyway, what do you think about this segment? Comment to us.
Fair use, the Asper News channel. African
This video
is one that made its rounds, and I was going to cover it, but I say, you know what? Let me cover it now. And this particular woman is going to say something that is so much a lie. But let's go ahead and check that out.
This is the time for all of us to raise our voices and to say this country is also our country, is also the country of our immigrants, because we are the one who built it. If you can enjoy.
The cries of Dr. Gerald Gabot, the Haitian immigrant in charge of the Immigrant Family Services Institute. She's reacting to the U.S. Supreme Court ruling.
So, ma'am, you're saying that you, in your particular community, Haitian community, built America? Can you please show me the historical reference where you got that from? What do you mean you built it? What do you mean? I'm trying to figure that out. Even you saying all these different immigrants built America, like you work jobs. And even in modern times, what are you actually building in modern times? I'm just trying to figure that out. I mean, you coming here to get jobs, okay? And then some of you think you're better, some, not all, think you're better than Black Americans because you got a job. Like you can never make me feel less than when you tell me that, well, I came over here with, the same lie. I came over here with $2 and now I got a degree in the job and I got this and I got that. Like Black Americans don't have the same thing you have. And it's more of us have it because there's more of us in the country, right? But the reason why this, woman was upset because the Supreme Court gave Donald Trump the ability to end TPS for Haitian Syrians or anybody else that he wants to end TPS for. And as of July the 1st, the TPS ended for Haitians and Syrians. So if they catch them, they're going to deport them because they don't have a legal right to be inside the United States of America. Now, my thing, and I always want to keep saying with these stories, is that the Democrat Party screwed all of you immigrants. They did, because they told you to come over here. They gave you all these set-asides. They even made you feel like you were better than Black Americans. But that same Democrat Party, I told you before, is just as racist as the Republicans. Because you know what? They'll bring you here. They'll gas you up. They'll give you some money over Black Americans to annoy us at the same time. And then but the rubber meets the road, they don't want you here. They really don't. They just want you here temporarily to use you. Because if they really cared about you, they'd have made sure before Trump got in office that y'all were citizens. They'd have fast track all of you to citizenship. You don't need to act of Congress to fast track citizenship. That's underneath the executive branch. The president can say, hey, you know what? I'm doing executive order. All immigrants can get their citizenship. I'm fast tracking it. You have it done in 30 days. I'm lowering the fees. The president can do a whole lot of things when it comes to that. And he can make it more difficult too.
This ain't pop. This ain't pretty. This is Southern hospitality. The Black Crow.
What I'm saying is the Democrat Party screwed y'all. And yet you all upset. What are you mad about? I'm trying to figure it out. What are you mad about? I mean, come on. Some people been here 20 years on TPS. What do you thought was going to eventually happen? You think you're going to sit on a temporary protected status your whole life? I wouldn't feel comfortable being in the country on a temporary protected status and actually building my life here on temporary protected status. That's like building my house on the sand instead of building my house on concrete, a foundation. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't even make sense. The first thing I would have did before I secured anything was to make sure I can get out of TPS status to at least legal resident status. I don't have to be a citizen. At least let me get a legal permanent residency in this country. And that way I can work. I can actually build something. And then I work on my citizenship. That's exactly what I would have did. People talking about your degrees and your jobs. Well, shoot, use that money, work all overtime you can, and go pay lawyers and get your stuff taken care of. Why would you wait to somebody like Trump, get in office when you had Biden in office? Biden was your best shot to get all that done. And you didn't do it. You were just parlaying. That's why a lot of people say, I don't feel bad for you when ICE catch you, because you had all these, he's been here 30 years, 20 years you've been here. And out of all those years, you can say, you know what? Yeah, let me go ahead and take care of my stuff, because I don't know what may happen one day, because something could change in this country. The lesson learned should be, if anybody come here, hurry up and get you a legal right to be here. And I'm talking about permanent residency or naturalized citizen. Get one of them. Well, it costs so much money. It's going to cost you a whole lot more if they grab you, if ICE grabs you and deport you. If I'm on TPS, if I'm on any of those things, I'm working my butt off to get all the money. If the lawyer say it's going to cost X amount of thousand, okay, well, I'm living at work. I'm living at work to get that money for that lawyer and to take care of that business. And that's what I would have done. And say, hey, okay, now I'm secure. Now I got my paperwork in hand. Now I can't get deported. Now I can build a good life in America at that point. I'm just saying that, like, that's just common sense. That's like me going to a foreign country right now on a visa and my visa expired. And then I want to cry when they come grab me and deport me. Oh, it's wrong. They should be deporting me, bro. Your visa been expired, bro. You can't be here. You got to go. It's the same thing. You don't build your life in a place that you can't really put your flag. And I'm not talking about your country flag. I'm talking about your individual flag. Like, hey, this is my new spot right here. Now I just still tripped out talking about they built it. Boy, where were y'all on the plantations with us? That's what I want to know. Any of y'all say you built it? Please show me where you were in the plantations, because they got pictures of our ancestors on plantations. I didn't see none of y'all. None of y'all was in them cotton fields. None of y'all was in Louisiana with the sugar cane. None of y'all was on those tobacco fields. Where y'all at? Because I didn't see the pictures of y'all. I'm trying to figure that out. Where were you at? You know what I'm saying? And maybe a few was over here and there, but not like us on this side. Well, everybody want to take credit to what our ancestors have done. It's like the nerve. And boy, they get upset when they got to go back to their homeland. Oh, but our home is this and that and the third. Well, you know what? If everybody stay over here in America, the home will never get fixed. The home will never get fixed. This country, where it's at, it didn't get to where it's at by everybody just being nice. It was a lot of fighting. Even recent times. Look all the uprisings FBA had for these people to even be halfway decent. And I say halfway. I didn't say they all the way. Because we had to take to the street. If we sat up there and never did anything, it'll be the same thing like it was in the 1950s. Sometimes you got to fight. Some people gonna lose their life. Some people gonna go to jail. Some people may not. But that's the cost of freedom. And a lot of these other groups don't want to fight for freedom in their homeland. They rather run away. It's just what it is. You can say whatever. I'm talking about what happened. You cannot help Haiti by being here. You can only help Haiti by being in Haiti. And sending money back, that doesn't help nobody. It doesn't make the whole Haiti good, because there's a lot of immigrants that send money back to their homeland every day, and yet their countries isn't progressing. Why? Because sending money back doesn't fix anything. You know, they talk about a brain drain. Well, the people that's smart need to go back to their places and help build that place up, so that place could be a great place to live. That's just really what it is. But, you know, in this day and era, a lot of Black Americans saying, look, we don't take too kind to that lying about history and taking credit for my ancestors. You didn't build a thing over here. Now, what you did in Haiti, we would never speak on that. But here, no. Y'all didn't build nothing.
Boycotting or black out Asian businesses is not working. It's only a TikTok. People want their mouth. I'm going to flip my camera and I'm going to show you this restaurant. I was open like last week, if I'm not mistaken, closed down now. Let me show you. As you can see, FBA stand up. As you can see right here, this business is shut down. It's closed right here. So they love to act like this is only on TikTok. It's working, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, the first restaurant, but the first business in the Black community should be the Asian restaurant. The food is no good anyway, to be honest with you. FBA stand up. They love to act.
civilizational station of subordination and dependence. And the answer to this paradigm is not endless foreign money. That's not the answer to this problem. The answer is to return to European Christian colonization of African nations. I believe that's truly the answer, and let me tell you why.
Wow.
It's the only thing that has historically worked, that has shown fruit. I'm not talking about overtaking Africa.
That's exactly what
I'm not talking about enslaving Africans. I'm not talking about exploiting Africans. But I'm talking about establishing order, godly leadership, and carrying the gospel to their lands. In fact, the only times that African nations have seen significant and sustained civilizational improvement, and I'm talking about infant mortality rates going down, I'm talking murder going down, I'm talking disease going down, tribal wars season. The only time Africa has ever seen that happen in being sustained is when they have come under Japhethite supervision.
A so-called Christian pastor, yeah? MAGA Christianity is not real Christianity, okay? I keep saying that because it's true. What kind of nonsense is this? This fool is talking about recolonizing Africa for order, putting in a Christian order. Dude, the empires that took over the world, the British Empire, they were not Christian because all that stuff that they did had nothing to do with Christ. Christ didn't tell the church, go out into the world, conquer, and force Christianity upon people. Did he say that? No. Get the hell out of here. Secondly, Hamites in the biblical sense are Northeast African and Middle Eastern. Yeah, the only black Hamite family you can call are the Cushites. The rest of the continent, my ancestors, are not mentioned anywhere in the Bible because the authors of the Bible didn't even know we existed. Thirdly, so-called Hamite civilizations like ancient Egypt, Kush, Aksum, all that, yeah, had prosperous civilizations and cultures that lasted centuries and that predate many European civilizations and kingdoms even. So this claim Hamites have been assigned civilization, subordination, blah, 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 is a load of nonsense, okay? So-called Hamites had powerful civilizations that influenced even European civilizations and cultures. So all that nonsense about subordination, blah, 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 is a load of nonsense. It's not even biblical, yeah? In the Bible, Canaan is the one who was cursed. Canaanites were olive-skinned, even white-skinned people from the Levant. Cushites aren't Canaanites. Bantus aren't Canaanites. West Africans aren't Canaanites. Central Africans aren't Canaanites. Nilotics aren't Canaanites. Yeah? We had our own cultures. We sustained ourselves. Then you came because you were greedy and you wanted resources. That's it. Shut up.